Yeah, so we really like where we are in the room. Noah will be back for this year. He had a really good season last year, so it's something to build off of. And something we've talked about a lot is how do you improve off a great season? There's a lot of ways you can, and that's something we've been focusing on throughout the last few months. And obviously, he wasn't with us in the spring, and it gave the young guys a great opportunity to go show what they did. If you guys paid attention to the spring game, we have some good talent with some younger guys as well, and so that was what it was really built on.
How did that decision come about for him not to participate in the spring? Like, that doesn't always seem to be a typical situation.
No, it was something I wasn't, I hadn't experienced in the past before, but really that's, it's kind of a personal thing. It wasn't a big deal, nothing bad. It was just kind of a situation Noah and the head coach and I had a conversation, and that's the direction that we went.
Was it at all useful for him? I know Noah and other kickers talk about kind of like the workload, and you don't want to be overtaxed, and you want to like be fresh as a kicker. Was that a factor for him not going?
I think so. It's something you'll ask him when he's back. I'm sure he'll have media at some point. He didn't join the team last year until June, and so he's an older guy. He's mature. He can take care of himself, and that's something he was doing the entire time he wasn't with us. But that was, I think that'd be something to ask him.
Was there a lot of communication, during the spring between you two, like checking in on him, asking him to do certain things?
It wasn't ever asking him to do certain things. I mean, I talked to him all the time, and so that was one of those things. He and I have a great relationship, and so we were constantly communicating. It wasn't necessarily checking in. It was one of those just making sure he's got what he needs and making sure he's doing what he needs to be doing. If he needs help from me or support from anybody here, we're always here for that. But no, he's mature. He kind of takes care of his business in those ways.
What do you like about Parker?
Well, that's a situation we can't discuss him at this moment. There's some stuff. I'll feel more comfortable talking about him when he enrolls pretty soon.
It looks like you will have competition in that room, though. I mean, when you have competition, like kind of how do you approach having a competition when you do have a returning starter?
I think all competition is good competition. I think that our job here is to make sure that we get the best out of our players every day, and the motto around here is fight to be the best version of yourself every day. And in some places, the best possible way to do that is to compete. And sometimes competition against yourself is really good. Sometimes competition against other people brings the best out of everybody, and that's kind of our mindset around here.
Speaking of that competition, how do you weigh something like rewarding experience with also giving an opportunity to a younger guy?
It's a really good question. I think that those all factor in, and I think it's a lot of art, instead of science specifically. There's a lot going on. When you really get to know everybody and how they work and how they play, and there's a lot of factors that go in, and we definitely take those into account. So it's tough to say hypothetically within certain specifics. Yeah, there's instances where one plays out and weighs more than the other, but overall it's just kind of hard to say hypothetical.
Parker, just for the rest of you guys to have a returning kicker, a returning punter, a returning long snapper, how much easier does that make your job?
It does help. There's some. What it does is it allows us to focus on different things, other areas. And what I mean by that is everybody has a job to do, and so their job is to be better than they were last year. That's the truth. And my job is to be better than I was. And other players and other roles, their jobs are to be better than they were last year. And so what it allows us to do is also focus on growing the young guys, getting them ready to be the next guy in line, whoever that may be. And as we said before, it's open competition at all times. Right? That's just the nature of who we are. And so while they started the game experience, that's huge, especially at specialist positions where it's such a different mentality than other positions. It's good that they can have that experience to kind of pass on to some of the other guys and push each other.
Were there any younger guys who really caught your eye just on special teams units in general really improving this spring?
A lot of guys, and it's hard. We talk a lot in here about the specialists specifically because all these other guys do a great job coaching their positions. But as you mentioned, that's the core of the special teams are the other 10 usually running on different units. Obviously, punt there's 2 guys and field goal there's 3, but a lot of times it is those other positions that are running and working really hard. As you saw guys at Pro Day, Chris Booker, Demario, some of these guys have had great careers through special teams, and we've seen that around here. Guys develop and they get better and they play. And this spring there was honestly too many guys to specifically say one and miss out on the others. I really think that when you have a really strong team, great linebackers, great receivers, great DBs, that what happens is the tight ends have been great. It really allows you to see guys as football players and not necessarily a specific position, especially through my eyes. And that's one of the things. Cade Stover ran down and made a ton of tackles on kickoff before we even played linebacker last year. We knew he could do that, but that's an opportunity for him to go do that and show that skill set. How they're kind of similar in terms of what he does every day. So A lot of guys. I was really happy with the spring.
I know you said all the competitions are open and it's May. Do you anticipate sticking with Jackson on punts, Mecca on kickoff, or how will you navigate those two spots in the return game?
Yeah. We do have some guys that can be in a rotation back there. If you know, last year Garrett started the year at punt returner, and then Jackson kind of took that over late. Travion Henderson actually was the first guy back there against Minnesota last year, and then in Mecca, he ended up showing things in practice, and even through fall camp, that was back and forth. And the truth is, we want to get our best guys the ball as often as we can, and that's an opportunity that we can do that. We also love to give opportunities to different people. That's, I think, Emeka owned that role at kickoff return. He owned it last year and had a really good season. And so there's a lot of different factors. How much are touching the ball in other places? Do we have opportunity to get guys the ball back in those roles, and how can it help our team? So going into it, that's where we'll be. I can't tell you where we end up, but we do have a lot of options, and I'm excited about it.
Is Cam Martinez in that group?
Absolutely. He caught balls all spring, and he's showed in flashes. Obviously, he's a high school quarterback that was dynamic with the ball in his hands. He had the one pick six last year, which kind of showed off. He jokes with me after that catch. He's like, "Put me back there." So I told the different punt returners, "Watch out, here he comes." And so that's just something that he keeps working at, and I definitely think he's in the mix.